with November coming up, there's a few things that you really got to do. One is you got to do a varroa mite count. And I've gone over that several times. And you definitely want to count the mites that are in your bees. And if you need to treat them, treat them. And there's several ways you can do it. I do it a bunch of different ways because I don't want the bees to get used to the treatment, or not really the bees, but the mites. And that way I can get a good mite kill. And also coming up in November is the time of year where the bees flights slow down because of cooling temperatures, and they're gonna start wanting to eat their reserves in the beehives. You wanna make sure you have at least a full medium here in eastern North Carolina. We're not like the other cold states that have to have 2 boxes on of food. You can get away with 1 box of food. We don't get really cold spells here in the winter like they do up north and out west, but we do get some cooler temperatures that come in that affect our bees. So that'll make them cluster, and that means you want to get in your beehives a little less than what you normally do in the warmer weather, because the bees are sealing up the cracks with propolis, and you don't want to make it so that they have to keep redoing it, going out and getting the sap that they get from the trees to make propolis with, and that way it helps your bees. You want to make sure that you got reducers on the entrances to help the bees stay warm. If you have a screen bottom board on a real cold day, slide a piece of cardboard in there to block the wind from coming up. If we have real cold days coming up with freezing temperatures, that'll help the bees stay warm. And then you can remove it as it warms up, because we'll have a week of cold weather and then it warms right back up to 70 degrees. And that's why I also put out pollen feeders this time of year. I start out by putting just a little bit of pollen, hang it in the trees. I also have a video on that if you look through my past videos about pollen feeders and how the bees use them. And then finally, if it's cold enough and you're not getting into your bees as much, clean your tools. Get everything ready for when spring comes around, because we got November, December, and guess what? In comes January and everything starts rocking and rolling again. So you want to make sure you got everything done. So enough of me yapping. I'm going to go jump into the bees. If they need to be fed, I'm going to feed them 1-to-1. This will be the last 1-to-1 feeding that I give the bees. And then it's time to switch over to 2-to-1. And that's your decision on what you want to feed, either 2-to-1 or 1-to-1. Some people say 1-to-1 is all you need to feed it. A lot of videos out there on YouTube that talk about that. And then there's also the 2-to-1 that people say you need to feed so that they have stores. If they don't have much stores, it's 2-to-1 I would recommend. If they have a lot of stores, then you can keep going 1-to-1 if you like. But I always like 2-to-1 because they'll store it instead of using it to expand the frames. That'll come later. All right, let's go jump in the bees. Turn off the electric fence and open the gate. So I just finished with hive 1. Hive 1 had a shallow on it that I put on just in case they needed it during goldenrod. They didn't use it at all, so I removed the shallow because that's less space that they got to heat and less space that they got to protect. So if you're in your beehives and you got shallows, mediums on that aren't full, if you're not going to feed them, take them off. If you are going to feed them, make sure that they have room for that and that the queen's got places to lay. Hive 1 was queen right and had food in the medium, so they have a shallow and a deep for the winter. So now we'll keep going into the rest of the hives. And as soon as I get in an area where I can put this, where the lighting's good, I'll light it all up and show you what's going on. So we've gone through 4 hives already, and that put the bees kind of in a little frenzy because the food sources are so scarce. I got a hive here that I'm getting ready to jump in, hive 5, which I've been babying, bringing back. And I'm going to open it up just to see how many bees are in it, if it's got brood. And if it does, I may have to add another box just to make a little more room for the bees. Or we'll see where they're at and go from there. So let's check this one out. So let's pop the lid. This one wasn't propless down, so a few bees on the lid. Nope, nothing else major going on. Let's give them just a little puff of smoke. I see bees right off the bat. That doesn't mean anything really until you get a look in there. Oh, look at that. A lot of bees. All right, let's check our lid for our queen, make sure she ain't here. Clean the lid in the front like I always do. They have food in some of them, but I want to make sure they got brood. So let's pop out the one closest to the feeder. Let's put our frame holder on here. Well, they have built this one out because it's got a lot of new wax on it, like right there in the center. They're eating what they got stored there for sugar water. I'm gonna give them a gallon, but I want to see if they got brood. And I see nectar, capped honey, and a bunch of bees eating. These 2 center frames, I hope I can find some eggs and brood. Otherwise, they'll have to. Oh, there's our queen right there. Look at that. Look at that. That's our swarm queen. The yellow queen right there. We have larvae. And we get eggs. Okay, that's all I need to see. We're going to close this back up. Push everything back into the queen, feed her, and leave her. Because she's laying eggs. She ain't got a lot in there, but they're all in one small group. So she's doing winter bees now. Drop some food in here, and that's it. They need the food. Just allow them to pack some away and have food to eat. All right. And now we just close her up. All right, girls. Let's get you back inside there. Let you get warm back up again. Because it's only about 70 degrees right now, but there's a cool north wind going, so I don't want to keep the hives open long at all. So I run through, I find a queen, or I find eggs. Okay, so we came through hive 5, which was the swarm that I combined with a weak hive. The queen's in there, the yellow queen. She's got eggs, she's got larvae. They're still working on the winter bees, so I gave her a gallon. So far, every hive I've given a gallon of feed. I got one more I'm going to hit today, and then we're going to call it a day because the bees are getting into a little of a frenzy just because of having open hives. And it's the time of year where stores are low, so they want to get in and steal each other's honey that's packed away, and we can't have that, so we let them calm down. So I got one more hive right here, but it's got a lot of bees on it. So I'm going to take a look, and I'm going to figure it out and go from there. And this is what happens when you get bees. Oh, they just fell off. I was going to show you they're fighting over the hives, but oh well. So I got one more to get into, maybe. This is the one that I'd like to get into, but as you can see, they're trying to rob that hive. So I'm going to close that hive so that they can't. And how do I do that? Well, I'll show you. There's this little pin right here that you take out, and there's a metal screen. You pull out this metal screen, you turn it around, upside down, put it in, the bees get out the way, just like so. And because they're trying to rob it, now that hive is closed off and they can't get into it. The other bees inside here will know that they gotta get into the hive a different way. And that's through that top hole right there. But these bees don't know that. So this is telling me I just need to stop, because all the bees are a little excited, even down at 14 and 15. So now that I've done 6 hives, I want to do a 7th, but I can't. The bees are in too much in a frenzy. So we're just going to stop doing what we're doing, and we're going to go ahead and let the bees be bees. They can't get into the hive unless they know what to do on this one. And I'll pick this up again tomorrow when the bees are calmed down, once the temperature gets warm again. Paul from Orange Farm, have a blessed day. Feed your bees, get them ready for winter.